Hey, what's up, Eric? This is JT, man. I'm calling because, man, I ran across a video. I don't know if you've seen this guy. His
Okay.
name's on Instagram. It's like Boston Card Hunter or something like that. But anyways, it's like I guess he reposted your video about you talking about 780s and 90s cards.
Yeah.
But basically, he said something about like your vintage cards being worthless. You don't know what you're talking about. And I got vintage cards. So I wanted to see just what was your take on that video. It kind of came across my feed. And what was your take on vintage cards and 70s, 80s, and 90s cards? And I don't know. I don't know if you've seen this guy, but yeah, man, I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a go. I don't know who that is, but I'm assuming it's just another comment or video. So okay, so a few things. The vintage card stuff. So I think it referred to me just saying, generally speaking, cards from the 70s, 80s, and 90s are worthless. The cards from the 90s or the cards from those eras that'll usually be worth something. I'm just like generally speaking here is like 90s basketball. That's what people have. Like obviously there's cards from the 80s, like obviously like an 86 Fleer Jordan is worth a ton of money. Are people gonna have that laying around? Probably not. So I'm just kind of generally speaking, and the reason I say that most of those cards are worthless because it's such a common question I get, and just 99% of the time they are. I'm just trying to like speed up people's success just to not even think about selling those cards because they're just not worth a lot of money. But it's dependent. Like you could have a rookie Roger Clemens card. The card's worth a few dollars, but if the card's in perfect condition as a 10, it's worth much, much more. So those cards, any of those cards graded at 10 from the 70s, 80s, and 90s of any decent star is going to be worth a lot of money. But it's all about the condition. But just to be like straightforward, the way I've made a lot of money is flipping modern cards. I am no expert in vintage cards. I know how to make money with them. But like if you asked me like who's the fourth card in this set, this player, I have no clue, and neither do I really care, to be honest with you. So I'm not an expert with
Mhm.
vintage cards in the slightest way. I'm not even an expert with like modern cards. Like when it comes to like, there's so many more people that could tell you like in this product, like these are the different types of variations, and this is what's on the checklist. I have no idea. I have no idea. The thing I'm good at is flipping sports cards and making money. Like I cannot tell you a great history of sports cards. I can tell you the simple stuff. So just to be transparent, I'm good at making money with sports cards, knowing all like the history and all these little details and stuff versus like a collector who's been collecting for 40, 50 years could run circles around me when it comes to that stuff. But like, I'm here to help people make an income with sports cards. So that's the first thing. The second
Mhm.
thing is so the reason I never respond to like hate videos, especially with sports cards. So sports cards is a funny game. And I knew this when I launched Major League Profits in 2020. Like people are very sensitive about sports cards because it's like they're like pastime or fun or hobby. So like people are very sensitive about it. So I knew the minute I launched ads, I was gonna get a lot of hate. But someone like this guy, I don't know how old he is, whether he's a kid or he's 30, 40, 50 years old. There's a great book that we make all of our employees read. It's kind of like our company Bible. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Amazing book. You may have read it. You may have heard of it. It was a book written in the 1930s by someone named Dale Carnegie, and Dale Carnegie was a famous
Mhm.
public speaker, and he wrote this book that went super viral and it's still very relevant to this day. But anyways, the point, if you ever read that book, it would tell you that, especially on, it doesn't say this, but like just reading the book, you would get this. So like someone on social media that's bashing you, like I teach people how to make money and I run a lot of ads. We push this in people's faces. So naturally you're going to get a lot of people that don't like me. It's just how it works. Especially people in sports cards. Like I think that guy, whoops, I just hit my mic. I think that guy, if he's calling me a scammer or he's saying I don't know anything, probably in his true heart of heart, he's making that post to protect people from me. He probably thinks like, and unfortunately, there's a lot of things out there on the internet that say one thing and do another. So like, I believe in that guy's heart, he actually thinks he's doing the right thing. And our reviews could speak for itself. But when it comes down to someone making a social media post and like bashing me, like number one, so because these people's mindset is already shaped, commenting or like trying to start a war or fight back is just irrelevant. It's kind of like the best example I can give you. It's like a Democrat and Republican arguing with each other. Have you ever seen a Republican and a Democrat argue with each other, and then at the end of the argument, the Democrat or the Republican was like, "You know what? Actually, you were right. I'm going to vote on your side. No, right? It's impossible. So fighting fire with
Right.
fire is just one, it's a waste of my time because it just does. Even if I went in that guy's post and I said 2 + 2 is 4, he would still say I'm wrong, right? Because people love
Right.
drama, and I keep out of drama. Like I'd rather spend my time instead of going back and forth with someone and getting nowhere and just wasting my time and energy. I'd rather spend my time helping people and getting on coaching calls and helping students make money, making my program better. So like that's why I never respond to that stuff. And I get a ton of hate, tons of comments and posts and all sorts of stuff like that. But it's just, even if I'm right, it just doesn't matter because people like are just waiting there for me to respond, and then no matter what I say, just go crazy. Especially in the world of sports cards, because people are very sensitive. So like that's why I never respond to that stuff. And especially like doing that, like making posts like that in the short term, like if I was making posts here, let me give you an example to drive this point home, then I'll start answering other questions. But like if I were to make posts like that, like this person doesn't know what he's talking about and bashing people. In the short term, it's funny. It would get some views and people would comment like, "Yeah, you're right." But you actually lose people's respect by taking the higher road. You gain like that guy. Like if you were to go and sell something, like because I don't know. Once again, I don't know if it's a kid or an older guy, but if it's an
I think
especially
he's an older guy.
older guy. So like for example, nothing against that guy, but doing that, you kind of look like silly and you lose people's respect. Like, yeah, I'm sure he's getting views and comments and people are like siding with him, but like no one will respect you running around on social media just bashing people. Right? And I prefer to take the higher road. I prefer to not put my time and energy into something that'll just get me nowhere. Right? I like to put my time and energy into things that push my life forward, students' life forward, etc. So that's why I never respond to that stuff. But have I said dumb things that are wrong before? Hell yeah, hell yeah. I've said some things on accident, like certain cards of certain years that were wrong. Fuck yeah, there's so much to know about sports cards, and I'm not the absolute expert. I'm just an expert when it comes to flipping them and making money. So that's like you'll never see me respond to a hate comment ever. You'll never see me hate on anyone. I just think it's a waste of everyone's time, and I like to keep myself out of that game. And
Yeah.
honestly, and also there's a saying. Once again, I don't know this dude. I don't know. He could be a billionaire. He could be worth no money. But also something I've learned from Alex Hormozy is you never get hate from someone that is above you. You only get hate from people that are below you. So like that's why. Have you ever seen like would Elon Musk ever waste his time, like, making fun of me because I said a card is from the wrong year? Of course not. It's stupid because he's way ahead of me, right? So you only get hate from
Right.
people below you. So, like, it's like a waste of your time to talk with those people and put your time and energy. That's just the way I look at it. But once again, I don't know if this comes off cocky or wrong, but that's just my honest viewpoint. But I would, if that guy's running around on social media doing those things, I'd recommend him reading the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. Changed his life. It changes a lot of our
Yeah.
employees' lives. But yeah, any other questions,
I w
JT?
Yeah, I actually so what would also are 70s, 80s, and 90s considered vintage, or is it like 50s? Are those considered more vintage?
Uh, if you speak to like someone, like like just a regular collector, I think they would consider like 1969 and below vintage. I consider anything pre 2000, 99 and below vintage. But, like, they're way different eras. Like, 1970 and 1999, a lot of those cards are worthless. It's considered a lot of those cards are from the junk era. You wanna be looking for 90s basketball. Those cards are hard to grade. But then you get down to, like, 1969 and below, and especially 1959 and below, those cards are worth a lot of money. Like, any card from 1980 graded a PSA 7 is not gonna be worth anything, or unless that's like a '86 Fleer Jordan or something like that. But anything from, like, 1959 and below, a lot of those cards graded a 7, worth tons of money. So the reason being is because those cars from the 50s, a lot of those people didn't value sports cars, so a lot of people threw them out and they weren't produced that much. But in the 70s and 80s, people were like, wait a second, these cars from the 50s are worth some money. We're gonna hold our cards and collect them. And then sports cars got popular, they started to get overproduced. And then yeah, so like because everyone kept them, they're not worth anything. So it's like something is only an opportunity when no one else sees it as an opportunity. So like the people that held their cards that lived in the 50s made a lot of money because no one else saw cards as an opportunity. You know, that's kind of like buying Jaden Daniels right now. I think that's a dumb idea because like everyone thinks he's the greatest quarterback ever because he had a great rookie season. So like something like my viewpoint on vintage, generally speaking.
Got it. Well, thanks, brother. I appreciate you answering my question.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. I appreciate you coming on, man.